So imagine London, not current London, but Victorian era London, around the 19th century. 1865, society was divided. The rich lived in luxury, with money and influence, while the poor had basically nothing. Life was hard, and in their desperation, many became mudlarkers. Children, women, and men who searched the filthy riverbanks of the Thames for anything they could sell. The average mudlarker was a complete mess. No home, no warm place to rest, just the cold streets and the damp riverbank. They often slept under bridges, listening to the rats scurry around them, sometimes even nibbling on their toes. But Tommy got lucky. He can spend the night in a lodging house, a crowded place where many people share bunk beds in a single room. It wasn't much, but at least it was a roof. Good night, Tommy. But luck was rare. Most mudlarkers barely made enough to afford the proper meal, surviving on just a few shillings. A loaf of bread could cost a day's earnings, and many survived on scraps, sometimes literally. And what they found in the Thames? Rotten fish, broken cutlery, rusty nails. Hardly treasures, but sometimes they got lucky. A lost coin, a trinket, something worth selling. London was filthy. Thick smog hung in the air, mixing with the stench of sewage and rotting garbage. The Thames was a dumping ground where people tossed their waste without second thought. Dead animals, rotten food, even human waste. It all went straight into the water. Factories pumped out toxic runoff, making the river a deadly cocktail of chemicals and disease. Cholera and typhoid ran rampant, and many mudlarkers didn't live past 20. Their lungs filled with pollution, their bodies worn down by endless scavenging. But sickness wasn't the only danger. The river was full of hidden threats: piranhas, sharks, megalodons. I'm just joking. The actual threat were sharp objects. For example, sharp glass, jagged metal, and rusted nails waiting to pierce through your skin. A deep cut could mean death, unlike today where you go to the doctors and you can get healed pretty much the same day. And this cut could be an infectious spread that was very fast, and medical care was a luxury back then, which they couldn't afford. Hospitals weren't free, and most doctors didn't waste their time on the poor. Injuries weren't just painful, they were a literal death sentence. And even if you found something valuable, like for example a PS5 or a rusty fork, keeping it was a complete separate battle. The strongest always took what they wanted, and there was no fairness in the streets. There were no rules and no police to intercept any conflicts. So if someone bigger than you wanted what you just found, you either ran away or put your paws up and fought like a man. So this means that mudlarking wasn't just about luck. It was about survival and you defending what you owned and what you found. And the worst part? This wasn't just a job for adults. Many mudlarkers were children, some as young as 5 years old, sent into the filth because their families had no other way to survive. If you were small enough to fit through gaps in the river walls or squeeze into tight spaces, you had an advantage. But that advantage often came with a cost. The smaller you were, the harder it was for you to fight back. Despite all of this, mudlarking was still better than some other jobs. At least you weren't down in the coal mines, choking on dust. At least you weren't climbing chimneys, risking a fall to your death. For many, it was the only option. It was brutal and a very unforgiving life. Just the endless search for something, anything that could get you through another day. Subscribe for more stories and the strangest jobs in history.